There's a kind of peace that doesn't come from quiet rooms, empty schedules, or calming music. It's not found in perfect relationships or a life free from problems. This peace is supernatural. It transcends logic, emotion, and circumstance. It's not the peace that the world offers. It's the peace that He gives. You see, the world defines peace as the absence of conflict, but heaven defines peace as the presence of God. When His presence fills your heart, storms lose their power and chaos loses its voice. True peace isn't the silence of trouble, it's the stillness of your soul while trouble rages around you. We live in a restless generation, scrolling, comparing, searching, and chasing moments of temporary calm. But you'll never find peace in distraction. Peace comes when you surrender. The secret to true peace is not control, it's yielding. You've tried managing your life, your emotions, your future. But peace doesn't come from having everything under control. Peace comes from placing everything under His control. When you surrender your will, your fears, and your timelines, that's when the Prince of Peace steps in. His peace doesn't require an explanation. It simply is. It flows when trust replaces anxiety, when faith replaces fear, and when worship replaces worry. Peace is not something you find. It's someone you know. The more you know Him, the less the world can shake you. He becomes your anchor in the storm, your calm in the chaos, and your rest in the struggle. Today, release the idea that peace is something you must achieve. Peace is already waiting within you because the Spirit of peace Himself dwells in you. You don't have to chase it, you just have to receive it. You don't have to earn it, you just have to yield to it. The world has trained us to believe that peace is what happens when everything around us finally settles. When the bills are paid, relationships are smooth, the diagnosis is clear, and life is comfortable. But that kind of peace is fragile. It depends on circumstances, and circumstances are always changing. The peace that God gives, however, is different. It doesn't wait for the storm to pass, it speaks in the middle of the storm. Many people think peace is found in isolation, that if they can just get away, unplug, or hide from life for a while, they'll feel whole again. But peace is not a place, it's a person. You can be surrounded by chaos, yet carry perfect calm inside you. You can walk through fire and not be burned by fear because His presence surrounds you like a shield. When the presence of God becomes your reality, anxiety loses its power and fear loses its influence. Think about Jesus asleep on the boat during the storm. The waves were violent, the disciples were terrified, but Jesus slept. Why? Because peace wasn't something He was trying to hold on to. Peace was something He was. The storm outside couldn't affect the calm within Him. That's the kind of peace God offers to every believer. A peace that's not dictated by the external, but sustained by the eternal. Peace isn't the reward for a quiet life. It's the result of a surrendered heart. You can't control the storms that rise up against you, but you can decide who's in your boat. When His presence fills your life, you no longer panic over what's around you because you're anchored by who's within you. The presence of God doesn't always change your surroundings, but it changes your spirit in the midst of them. Many are praying for God to calm the storm, but sometimes God allows the storm to reveal the strength of His peace inside you. It's easy to have faith when the waters are still, but real faith is proven when you can stand firm while the winds rage. That's when you discover that His presence is not seasonal, it's steadfast. His peace is not occasional, it's eternal. When you cultivate the awareness of His nearness, peace becomes your default setting. Fear may knock, but it won't find a home. Worry may whisper, but it won't take root. You begin to walk through life with a quiet confidence, knowing that the One who holds the universe also holds you. The storms don't stop, but they stop defining you. Because true peace isn't something you chase, it's someone who never leaves your side. There's a tension in the human heart, the desire to control. We want to fix, manage, and plan everything so that life moves according to our expectations. But the more we try to hold on, the more anxious we become. The truth is, control is an illusion. You can't control people, time, or outcomes. The tighter you grip, the faster peace slips away. That's why surrender is not weakness, it's freedom. When you surrender to God, you're not giving up, you're giving over. You're transferring the weight from your hands to His. Many live in a constant state of inner warfare, trying to make sense of what only God can see. They wrestle with questions, doubt, and fear because they're afraid to let go. But surrender is the place where striving ends and peace begins. It's where the burden of self-reliance breaks and divine rest takes over. When you finally say, God, I don't have to understand, I just have to trust you. That's when His peace floods your soul like a river. Look at the Garden of Gethsemane, the place where Jesus prayed, not my will, but yours be done. That moment wasn't defeat, it was victory. The agony of surrender became the doorway to the greatest redemption in history. Jesus showed us that peace doesn't come by resisting God's plan, but by yielding to it. When you surrender, you align yourself with heaven's rhythm. You stop fighting battles that aren't yours to fight and rest in the assurance that He's already gone before you. Some people think surrender means doing nothing, but it's the most powerful act of faith. It's saying, God, I trust your timing even when I don't see progress. I trust your hand even when I can't trace it. I trust your heart even when I don't understand. Surrender removes the pressure to figure everything out. It silences the endless noise of what ifs and whys. You stop asking God to bless your plan and start asking Him to lead you into His. The greatest storms in life are not always external. They're the storms of resistance inside us. The battle between our will and God's will is where peace is either lost or found. As long as you're trying to do it in your own strength, you'll live weary. But when you let go, peace begins to rise. The moment you release control is the moment the Prince of Peace takes control. Surrender is the bridge between anxiety and assurance. It's the posture of open hands, no longer grasping, no longer fighting, no longer fearing. In that posture, you discover a rest that cannot be earned, only received. Peace doesn't come to the one who figures it all out, but to the one who lays it all down. The human mind is constantly searching for reasons. We want to know why things happen, how they'll work out, and when change will come. But the peace of God doesn't dwell in the realm of understanding, it lives in the realm of trust. As long as you depend on explanations, you'll remain anxious. But when you lean on trust, peace begins to flow like a river through the cracks of uncertainty. Understanding may satisfy the mind, but only trust satisfies the soul. Will be seasons when nothing makes sense. When prayers seem unanswered, doors remain closed, and the path ahead looks hidden. In those moments, the temptation is to question God's goodness because the situation doesn't align with our expectations. Yet peace isn't found in knowing how God will work. It's found in knowing that He will. Trust says, even if I don't understand what you're doing, I still believe you're doing what's best. That's the posture that unlocks divine calm in the middle of confusion. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. It's a direct invitation to stop resting on the unstable foundation of logic and start standing on the solid ground of faith. Your understanding is limited, His wisdom is infinite. You see the moment, He sees eternity. The very thing that seems to make no sense right now could be the peace that holds the entire purpose together later. That's why peace is not built on what you know, but on who you know. When trust becomes your response, peace becomes your reward. Trust takes the pressure off your shoulders and places it back on the one who promised to carry your burdens. It's a quiet confidence that says, I may not have the answers, but I know the answer lives in me. This trust is not passive. It's powerful. It allows you to walk through storms without losing your composure, to face uncertainty without losing your song, and to endure pain without losing your perspective. Think of Abraham walking up the mountain with Isaac. He didn't understand what God was doing, but he trusted. Every step up that mountain was an act of surrender and faith. He didn't have all the details, he just had the word. And that was enough. Peace followed his obedience, not his understanding. The same is true for you. You won't always see the full picture, but when you trust the painter, you can rest in his process. Understanding seeks control, trust releases it. Understanding demands evidence, trust believes without seeing. And when trust becomes your anchor, no amount of uncertainty can shake your peace. The mind may question, but the spirit remains still because it knows the one who holds the mystery is also the one who holds you. There is something profoundly powerful about worship. Not the kind that depends on a song, a melody, or a feeling, but the kind that rises from the depths of a surrendered heart. Worship is not just music, it's a posture. It's the moment your soul decides that God is greater than your storm, that His presence is more real than your pain. Worship shifts the atmosphere inside you before it ever changes the atmosphere around you. It's the language that silences fear and invites peace to reign. When you worship, you declare that God is worthy even when life feels unsteady. It's easy to praise when everything is working, but true worship is born in the tension, in the waiting, in the unknown, in the moments where your heart is breaking, but your mouth still says, "You are good." That's where peace begins to flow. Because in worship, your focus moves from what's wrong to who's right, from what's missing to who's present. You stop magnifying the problem and start magnifying the presence. Worship carries the power to shift your perspective. The battle in your mind may be loud, but worship lifts your eyes higher. It re-centers your heart on the eternal rather than the temporary. In the middle of pressure, worship realigns your soul with heaven's rhythm. You may still feel the weight of life pressing in, but peace starts to rise within you like oil on turbulent water. That's why the enemy hates worship, because he knows it's where anxiety dies and faith is reborn. Look at Paul and Silas in the prison cell. Chained, beaten, and surrounded by darkness, they didn't complain, they worshipped. Their circumstances didn't shift before their worship shifted their circumstances. As they lifted their voices in praise, the chains broke and the doors opened. But the greatest miracle wasn't the physical freedom, it was the inner freedom that peace brings. Worship didn't just open the prison, it opened their hearts to divine strength. Worship isn't an escape from reality, it's a redefinition of it. It reminds you that no matter what you face, God remains enthroned. The world may be loud, but worship drowns out the noise with the sound of heaven. When you lift your hands, you're not just singing, you're surrendering, you're telling your soul, be still. He's still in control. Every time you choose worship over worry, you build a dwelling place for peace to rest. Peace doesn't flow from perfect situations, it flows from perfect adoration. Worship is the gateway that ushers you into divine tranquility. It's the language heaven understands and the enemy cannot translate. The moment your spirit begins to adore, the storm begins to lose its power. Worship teaches your heart to rest, your mind to trust, and your soul to remember who holds the final word. So many people spend their lives searching for peace as if it were a hidden treasure buried somewhere outside of themselves. They chase it in relationships, achievements, possessions, and even spiritual activities, constantly reaching for something that always feels just out of reach. But the truth is, peace isn't something you find in the world around you. It's something that's already been placed within you. The Spirit of peace himself, the Holy Spirit, dwells inside the believer. What many are searching for externally, heaven has already deposited internally. When you received the Spirit of God, you didn't just receive comfort or guidance. You received his very nature. And one of the fruits of his presence is peace. That means you don't have to strive to create peace. You simply need to yield to the one who produces it within you. The problem isn't that peace is absent. It's that we've allowed the noise of fear, worry, and distraction to drown out the still voice of the Spirit. Peace is not discovered by effort, it's uncovered by intimacy. In the rush of life, your mind can become so cluttered with anxiety that you forget who lives inside you. But when you slow down and become aware of his presence, peace begins to surface like sunlight breaking through clouds. You don't have to beg for it, you just have to become aware of it. Awareness of God's presence is the awakening of peace. The more you commune with him, the more peace becomes your natural state. The fruit of the Spirit grows in the soil of fellowship. This is why Jesus could say, "My peace I give to you." He wasn't giving something external, he was imparting something eternal. His peace wasn't fragile, conditional, or temporary. It was anchored in his union with the Father. And that same union now belongs to every believer. You are not trying to pull peace down from heaven. Peace is flowing out of heaven within you. When you yield to the Spirit, his calm becomes your calm, his rest becomes your rest, and his stillness becomes your strength. Many believers pray for peace to come from above, yet the Spirit whispers, "I am already here." The key is not striving but surrendering. It's allowing the Holy Spirit to fill every corner of your being until anxiety has no room to speak. When the Spirit rules your heart, peace isn't something you visit occasionally. It becomes your dwelling place. The storms outside may rage, but within there is a quiet sanctuary where God's presence reigns. Peace doesn't need to be chased because it's not missing. It's hidden beneath layers of fear, doubt, and distraction. As those layers fall away through prayer, worship, and stillness, the peace of God rises from within you like a fountain that never runs dry. The peace that comes from God is untouchable because it doesn't originate from this world. Every earthly form of peace is temporary. It shifts with the economy, relationships, health, and circumstances. The peace the world gives depends on what is happening around you, but the peace God gives depends on who is living within you. That's why the storms of life may shake everything on the outside, but they cannot reach the sanctuary of peace that's built in the presence of God. The peace of heaven is not fragile, it's fortified by divine permanence. The world offers substitutes that look like peace, comfort, distraction, success, or pleasure. These may numb the mind for a moment, but they can never still the soul. When those things fade, anxiety returns stronger than before because worldly peace is borrowed, it has an expiration date. But the peace that comes from God isn't something borrowed, it's something birthed. It flows from his eternal Spirit, and because he cannot be shaken, neither can his peace. It's not based on the balance of your bank account, the opinions of people, or the stability of your plans. It's rooted in the unchanging nature of God himself. When Jesus said, "My peace I give to you, not as the world gives do I give," He was drawing a clear distinction between two realms, the realm of circumstance and the realm of the spirit. One is temporary, the other is eternal. One depends on what happens to you. The other depends on what's been placed within you. The world can't understand this kind of peace because it defies logic. It remains unbroken in grief, unshaken in loss, and unmoved in pressure. It's not denial of reality, it's dominance over it. When you walk in divine peace, you carry something the world can't manufacture. You become ungoverned by fear and unshaken by instability. Even when everything around you seems uncertain, your spirit remains anchored because your confidence isn't built on external security. It's built on the faithfulness of God. The world may take your possessions, your status, or your comfort, but it can never take what it didn't give. Peace that's born of heaven is sustained by heaven. Every trial you face becomes an opportunity to prove that your peace is authentic. When people see you stand calm while life is chaotic, they witness a reality that's not humanly possible. They witness the supernatural. That's how peace becomes your testimony. The storms that were meant to shake you only reveal the depth of the foundation you stand on. True peace doesn't disappear in trouble, it's displayed through it. The peace of God is not fragile enough to be stolen and not shallow enough to be shaken. It's eternal, enduring, and divine. It doesn't fade with time or break under pressure because its source is the one who never changes, never fails, and never leaves.